And I did a little bit of research on what is considered an addiction and what clinicians today consider an addiction. And so the definition I found was that the American Society of Addiction Medicine, the ASAM, defines addiction as a treatable chronic medical disease involving complex interactions among brain circuits, genetics, the environment, or individual life experiences. Typically, people with addiction use substances or engage in behaviors that are compulsive and often continue these behaviors despite the harmful consequences they can have. In other words, addiction holds like a power over a person, right? And from what this article is saying is that willpower alone cannot help you gain control. And I thought that was kind of scary. And so then I kind of went further and wanted to see what were the main criteria that are defined as an addiction. And so the six main criteria I found was that there's a loss of control, right? There's a compulsion. So, for example, a person will repeatedly engage in this behavior despite wanting to stop, and there's failed attempts to cut back. And so, pretty much, in other words, when you lose control, the choice that you have quietly starts to disappear. The second criteria is that there's a craving or a strong urge, right, to kind of want the certain thing, and then also the brain starts reacting to strong to certain cues. So, for example, on a phone, when we hear like a buzz, like our phone buzz, or same, for example, like in pornography or certain image, like your brain like automatically kind of reacts to that cue, right? So that's what they consider the craving. The third one is tolerance, and this is pretty much like that same behavior that you were engaging in. It doesn't produce the same effect as it did before, and so you want more. You want a higher intensity or higher frequency of whatever thing you're doing, right? So I don't know. Let's say if you used to scroll on your phone for like an hour, right, and an hour's not cutting it, now you're gonna push it to 2 to 4, etc. Then the fourth key element is the withdrawals, and so they consider that if a certain activity has withdrawals, this could also be considered an addiction. Withdrawal is an emotional or physical distress that occurs within you whenever this behavior stops, and typically we can see anxiety or restlessness or low moods, low moods in the person.